Welcome to Questions We're Afraid to Ask.
You
got one? Go for it.
Yeah, because this comes from something the new head of Disney just said. Why are we making so many Marvel TV shows? It's making them feel small and not impactful enough.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he did. I read that in an interview.
I missed that.
He's like, we've flooded too many of them. There's too many of them coming out too fast. We should have spread them out more. And I think he's right, because I've enjoyed every Marvel TV show, even Miss Marvel, and that one was hard for me to get into, but after I got over the Queen vibe to it, I really enjoyed it.
I still haven't finished that one. I really need to.
And that one starts super slow and picks up.
Yeah.
You know, I loved She-Hulk. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I loved She-Hulk. But there was some fair criticism. The stunt guy.
Not every episode was great.
Well,
I mean,
specifically the stunt guy who has done all of the stunt fighting for Daredevil through all of the stuff said they cartoonized in like a Looney Tunes way Daredevil, and he didn't like that. He did it, but he didn't like it. They made him feel cartoonish.
They did, but I think it just fit.
It fit, and I love. Give me any Daredevil and Matt Murdock and that actor, and I will just watch it. I'll watch it.
I also have no problem with them changing the character's behavior based on the show that they're on. Like,
I love the meta. I loved the meta. Like when she crawled out of the Disney Plus thing, I was like, yes, that's She-Hulk.
Well,
come on. But I get why not. The casual viewer may be like, what the hell is going on here? You know, to be perfectly fair.
What should happen?
Yeah.
But what we wanted. So what?
Secret Invasion.
I am so episode 4 of Secret Invasion is where we're at here.
Yeah. Spoilers. If you don't want to know, stop now for all things Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all on the board here. So I love Secret Invasion. I'm really enjoying it. I like I said, I've enjoyed all the other ones. I also love a good espionage flick and spy thriller.
It
my
feels
alley.
very Winter Soldier, right? In that political thriller. And I will watch almost anything Samuel L. Jackson will do. I love the man. I love his performances. And I think he's been amazing and massively underutilized as Nick Fury. And I like that he's finally getting to take center stage.
Yes. And he is knocking it out of the park. Like,
absolutely.
Every scene he's in is he's stealing the screen.
He's just chewing the scenery the way he does.
The scene with him and his wife we were talking about before we hit record was spectacular. They both miss. It's just
beautifully done.
It's a beautiful scene. Even when they set it up in that episode, like they say the poem in the beginning, and you're like, oh, that's cute. You think it's an establishing moment because it is, but then they just throw it right back in your face, and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna cry now. Like, this is really sweet. Like,
and to be honest, I thought one of them was gonna kill the other one. I thought one of them was dead, and then to see they both missed on purpose, and that line,
and then the delivery.
I don't know if this means we should get a divorce or renew our vows. I mean, I'm just like, God damn. And the little subtle things, like the minute he walked into the house and picked up his wedding ring and put it on so that no one's ever known Nick Fury got married.
Well, if you remember,
that's the implication there, right?
He mentions it. He mentions that he has a wife in Winter Soldier.
I don't. It's been too long. I don't remember it.
And I'd have to go back and rewatch the scene again because I don't remember it. But there's a scene when he shows up in Cap's apartment and right before he gets shot or he's been shot, and he makes some comment about his wife.
Okay.
And
I believe you. I just don't remember it.
And I feel like Cap said something like, I didn't know you had a wife, or some sort of. I feel like there was a moment there where we're sort of like, I wonder if he really has a wife, but like that was sort of all you had.
And the way they've set up the rise of Nick Fury through S.H.I.E.L.D. because he had all these shape-shifting spies nobody knew about. So he was, how did he always know what was going on? Because he always had somebody on the inside everywhere.
Yeah.
And then the just kick to the balls where his lieutenant, who'd been with him throughout the whole thing, Maria Hill, they have her killed, and she dies thinking Nick did it. And
she's got to know it wasn't him.
Well, but does she?
We don't know.
We don't know. I mean, there's but what that does to Fury,
rolling the dice on she's not dead and coming back at the end.
Yeah, maybe. But just the fact that somebody did that to him because they knew it hurt him, and he was already this kind of broken man thing.
Well, I mean,
which explains why he's been out of pocket. I like that too.
It's very clear that Gravik's intention is to hurt Nick.
Yeah.
I mean, because that was it at that moment at the end there where he kills
Talos.
Like, he's right there, man. Kill him.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm gonna stab your boy and be like, burp, and then leave. Like,
he's torturing him.
Yes. It's very reminiscent of that moment. There felt like like the Star Wars thing with Vader and Obi-Wan, where you're like, get him, he's right there,
Yeah.
But that was different. That one actually made sense, where you're like, you didn't get him. You're like, nope, that's not what your goal is. Your goal is to stir everything up and break Fury at the same time.
Yeah, it felt very Arya Stark to me, where she takes the time to tell the guy, you're eating your children. I cooked them for you.
Yes.
And let him suffer for a minute before she slits his throat. I'm not just going to kill you. I'm going to do the absolute worst thing to you that I can before I give you the sweet embrace of death.
I think that what we're going to run into, though, is that's going to end up being his downfall.
Yeah, that's going to be, of course, it's going to be his Achilles heel. It's going to bite him in the ass.
Let him get too close, and that's how he's going to end up killing him or beating him or whatever it's going to be at the end.
And they got me last week. They got me at the end when he shot the Skrull, the Talos' daughter, Gaia. And I thought she was dead, and the spy person, whoever it was, that she was based on, because there's a theory on who she is floating around the internet right now.
Okay,
that she's a mutant associated with the X-Men, who is one of the agents of SWORD. Wait,
they think she's not a Skrull?
No. That's who the Skrull is imitating. Is the mutant, an X-Men character. And the theory was, after the end of last week, was like, she's dead, so the mutant's going to wake up in the pod and break the fuck out, and that's going to how they keep the actress in the rest of the series. That was the theory, but of course we have no idea what happens right now when a Skrull dies and the human's in the pod. We haven't seen that yet. We don't know if there's a reaction.
My assumption is nothing.
That's what I'm figuring, is like nothing happens, so somebody else can go copy that.
Why would you want it to release? Like, you would want to keep them captured so that someone else could.
That only worked in the Stargate episode they did that with, when the pod people invaded.
Right.
Yeah.
But the point I was gonna get to, that, which is why we started recording in the first place, is it doesn't feel grand. It doesn't feel global. I mean, it's obviously it's a TV budget and they've got it, but
the world is supposed to be on the brink of nuclear war, right?
And it doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't. There's not enough shots of riots in the street, background newscast of this stuff going on, and
maybe we'll get that at the beginning of next week's episode.
Or this is all happening, and it's being pushed to the brink. But the people aren't being told.
That's possible.
But
it's been on the news though, because there was
a little bit.
But there was the thing happened in Russia.
The thing happened in Russia, and then like the NATO countries in Russia got together and summoned the United States, but the president didn't show. Rhodey showed,
right.
Colonel Rhodes, and why the hell would you send a? Let's be honest. I know he's War Machine. I understand he's War Machine, right? So he's an Avenger. But why would you send him?
Because I think he's like the national security director.
Yeah, but why would a colonel be that? Because he's still. And this is the thing. Because he hasn't been in uniform this season, has he? In the show, he's always been in a suit. So they may still be calling him Colonel, but he has officially retired.
Have they called him Colonel in the show?
Have. Someone has called him Colonel Rhodes. I'm pretty sure, like a bodyguard or something like that. Has
he is an assistant to the president?
Yes, he is definitely one of the president's.
And people. Is also a Skrull. And now let's talk about that. I think.
Yeah, and
the biggest thing was they ruined their own surprise.
Yes.
By having it be Don Cheadle's voice on the phone.
Yeah.
If you didn't have them, if all she said was, if all you heard was her side.
Yeah.
Where am I going to meet you? Well, why not? I want to talk to Gravik. Fine. Like,
yes, that's how they should have done it. Yeah, that's how they should have done it.
Fine, I'll see you there. It's so easy to make that fit and not give that away because, like,
it's like when Terminator Salvation spoiled the twist in the trailer.
Well, I don't remember what the twist was.
So the twist was John Connor's now the Terminator.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, but they spoiled it in the trailer. And I'm like, now I don't need to see the movie,
Right.
And granted, there were other critiques of that movie, and I've loved in some way, shape, or form almost every Terminator movie they've made.
They're good action flicks, regardless of if they make sense and or break the universe.
Exactly.
It's time. It doesn't work anyway.
It's timey-wimey. It's always timey-wimey.
But
back to this. Yeah, they ruined the surprise. And now the question is when? When did the swap happen? That's what I want to know.
I'm worried. So here's I've been listening to other people's critiques as well. And here's the argument that I'm hearing. It's going to be recent because they only got militant during the blip while they were
after the blip when Nick
after
came
the
back.
Blip.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if it's when people came back. But I think it's like once Fury disappeared.
Yes.
For that 5 year, or I forget how long it was. 5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
So that's when they started to radicalize. So that would have been the time when they could. So it's got to. The idea is it's sometime from there forward.
Yeah. Or this has been happening longer than Fury thought.
Right. So that's
and it is entirely possible. Because I'm putting my money on between Iron Man and Iron Man 2.
That's what I'm hoping it'll be. But the reason that I'm thinking that it's not is because they're being so... His behavior is so different.
Now, yes.
Now. Like, it's blatantly different.
Okay,
they're not trying to make him...
I'm putting my money on pre-Captain America Civil War.
So before, well...
Because to me, this is why Rhodey survived the crash. Because while you can kill a Skrull, they are more resilient than people.
But wouldn't that giant blast, which knocked him out and almost killed him, wouldn't he have turned back into a Skrull, though?
Maybe not. I don't know.
Look at Talos when he got shot. He started to.
Yeah.
So
no, and I hear you. Okay, so using that logic, then, post Avengers Endgame, yeah. I mean,
so at that point, that would explain how Rhodey suddenly was able to walk again.
Yeah.
Without any issue or support, because if we follow that along, we know that he had leg braces
for some time. Yeah.
But he had them in. We saw them in Endgame.
Yeah, we did. So
maybe
it's going to be interesting.
Swapped out during the blip when he was off world, and
we don't know.
He was
at some point.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then how many scrolls flipped?
Yeah, they ruined the surprise on that.
They did, but the show's worth watching. It's still so worth watching. It's
definitely worth watching, and I'm excited to see where they're going. But I also think there's the understanding that they might be doing too many of these.
There's that, and I think they have made some poor creative choices in general.
And see, I think that's
the biggest fumble I think Disney Plus has had since it launched was Willow. Because the Willow movie is amazing. It is horribly underrated. It is horribly underwatched. And when I heard there was a Willow series coming out, I was ecstatic. And yeah, I know some people got all bent out of shape at the LGBTQ aspect and whatever. That wasn't my problem with Willow. And I watched the whole thing. I enjoyed the whole thing. But the pacing and the structure of that series was bad. There were gaps. There were periods where stuff didn't make sense. People just made character changes halfway through with no real reason why. You had no idea what was going on. Was that a filler episode or a plot episode? And Disney has gone so far now as to have pulled it. It's gone. But they own it. So why not just leave it there and see if it gets residual views, you know?
So I think I heard this in some assessment somewhere that they were pulling things off streaming services because they could write them off as a loss or something like that.
But once you've made profit on it, you can't write it off as like a full loss. The way
I don't know how that works exactly. But I think there's also something to be said for hosting things costs money. Yeah. Having it be available to stream
and if it's not getting views,
expensive.
If it's not getting views, it may not be worth the server space. You're absolutely right.
Because I don't know what that looks like. How much space does one episode of Willow take up? I mean, I'm assuming it's probably got to be duplicated on 500 servers and
or something
you gotta
like
have
that. You got to have the backups of backups. Yeah,
I don't even know how that works.
No, I don't.
If anybody but I think does, we'd love to talk to you. That's how back end server streaming stuff works. Yeah,
absolutely. But I think that's been their biggest swing and a miss. Pacing, I think, has been a big issue with some of these series. Some of them feel like they've taken too long. Some of them feel like they're just too fast. Some of them are rock star, right?
Yeah, I mean, like thinking back, like I also think there's a difference between. So, like, I'll give the example between WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay,
WandaVision was very much a self-encapsulated story.
Yes,
that didn't really change too much outside of itself because it was Wanda and Vision. Vision had a major change.
Yeah,
but that that wasn't outside of them.
And Wanda had a major change.
And we created a new hero.
Yes.
But outside of that, we didn't really. I mean, that's going to play down later in the Marvel show and stuff. But like, it wasn't trying to rock the foundations of
and
of
it
the
did
MCU,
an
like
exceptional job. It did an exceptional job of setting up why Wanda would be the villain for Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then you look at Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Again, a nice self-contained story about the Cap's two friends having to sort of come together and
the government dealing with the fact that they don't have a super soldier.
Yeah, and introducing the superhero. And again, it's a self-contained story. It has threads that go out. We got introduced.
It also it explained where a lot of these second and or B and C level characters went, like the girl Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm blanking on her name. Sharon Carter. And all that kind of stuff.
But then let's compare. Like, so again, then we go to Loki. Loki again, it gets into Kang. It sort of introduces some of the idea. It really dives into what the multiverse is.
One of the best ones done yet.
Absolutely. Well, I think WandaVision is better than Loki.
I liked Loki better than WandaVision, but that has to do more with I prefer that character and
that's a taste.
That style of story over the other. I love them both, but very different shows.
Yes, very different.
I also there's an aspect of Loki. The fact that Loki could only ever fall in love with Loki, is just. There's something about that character, and I love the actor, and I love watching it, and
he's great.
Yeah,
and the woman who did the female Loki was spectacular as well.
And what's his name? Who's the time agent? Owen Wilson is just amazing.
Spectacular as Morpheus,
and just the way they introduced Kang as not Kang,
who apparently is supposed to be in Deadpool 3.
Yeah,
Owen Wilson was supposed to be in 3 when they get to start recording it again.
Yeah, because they had to stop today.
They're
on
strike now.
Which may actually improve the movie, because I don't know if you heard this, but apparently Ryan Reynolds hasn't been able to ad-lib anything because the writer's strike was going on.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because his ad-libbing is considered a writing credit.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, what I was gonna so we went with Loki, and then but I think the difference is because then you also had She-Hulk. Again, it was a self-contained thing. It wasn't changing anything. It expanded some stuff. It showed us that you could break the third wall in the MCU.
Fourth wall.
Fourth wall.
But I love the Bruce Banner story. It expanded on his.
It did.
Yeah.
And so, but I think the problem is that those were all nice and self-contained pieces. And Secret Invasion, while again it is contained around Nick, it feels like it needs to be bigger than it is. It feels like
you also have to have watched other stuff for it to make sense.
Yes.
And you have to watch, and again, I went and saw this movie. I enjoyed it. But the single least popular Marvel movie is required viewing for this, and that's Captain Marvel. It is still the worst rated by popularity of all the Marvel movies.
Oh, yeah. It is. I was like, why is it required? Of course. Yes, I know the answer to this. But yeah, that is true. That is true. You have to understand sort of what's going on. You have to have seen that one.
Or, I mean, at least it helps a lot to know what the hell a Skrull is. Because, let's be honest, the Skrulls, kind of weird and out there. Honestly, I'm surprised we didn't see any in Guardians of the Galaxy. Because that would have been a great place to have sprinkled a couple in.
I bet there's some in backgrounds that we just, if we watched and looked, there might be a couple that pop up.
Well, hell, they're shapeshifters. They could have been all over the place.
And with the Kree show up in that though.
Yeah, and to understand this whole Kree Skrull war thing, and to be perfectly fair, the lore that they're pulling out of in the comics that they're basing this stuff on, we're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comic book issues.
Thousands of comic book issues.
Yeah. Decades of storytelling to build into all of this.
And stories that contradict each other and overwrite, rewrite. And so they're really, they really do get to sort of do whatever they want, which is nice.
It feels like the pacing of this one at least feels good.
Again, I'm not complaining, and I'm not upset with it, but it does feel like it's not. Here's what it is. This should have been a movie.
But I don't think they could have told it in 2 hours.
I would argue that you could have, but you'd have to go big. It would have to be the way you do it is the beginning of the movie is somebody gets shot and they turn into a Skrull and it's Spider-Man or something.
I think some of these stories are better told in this form.
I don't disagree with you. I think
Secret Invasion is one of them. So at the end of the day, when it's finished, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
When it's done, and I don't know how many episodes this is going to be, to be perfectly honest.
6.
I don't know. I haven't looked.
They're all 6. It's 6 hours is what they've been doing.
But I've liked this one. I've liked it a lot. It's been one of the ones I've liked the most.
I'm not disappointed.
But
it's just
I think one of the problems is we got Endgame. We got Avengers Endgame. And we saw what was possible.
Yeah.
With a massive budget and a huge cast of characters. And I think we're now running into some fatigue. Not fatigue that we've had too much of it, but expectation fatigue. Like, Rhodey's in it, but he hasn't been in the Iron Man suit yet. Where's the War Machine suit? Well, the War Machine suit's expensive.
Well, the War Machine suit is DNA, and it may not work.
That's entirely possible too. But you can see, like, we haven't seen War Machine yet. And why haven't you called any of your special friends in yet? You know, because I have to do this on my own. Where I really think that's Nick Fury going, I don't know who the hell is a Skrull, so I ain't gonna call nobody because anybody could be a Skrull. That's what I think he's really doing.
Well, and if he knows what he knows, like if he let's just he now knows they have superpowers, but let's say he had an inkling that he thought they might be able to do that. He doesn't want to introduce them to more genetic material.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
You know, I don't want them. They don't need a drop of Thor's blood.
Yeah, or the Hulk, or
Yeah.
Because you might get a Skrull to be Thor and who's learned to go for the head, right? And I only say that because there's I happened to scroll while we're talking about this. Scroll across something. It was like Thanos, Thor stabs him and he lives. Zeus, Thor shoots him with a lightning bolt and he lives. And there's Odin going, "Are you Thor, the god of not going for the head?" Right? Yeah. It's just like, haven't you learned by now?
Apparently not.
And it's interesting because like my 18-year-old was talking about it the other day, and he was like, I didn't really like Love and Thunder, and I was like, why not? And he's like, well, I didn't like the way they portrayed the Greek gods. I'm like, why not? And he's like, well, my buddy told me that the villain of the movie was much more powerful in the comics, and they killed him too easy. I'm like, yeah, but did it make it a bad movie? And I know Love and Thunder has gotten a lot of unfair bad press because, let's be quite honest, Ragnarok was almost a Thor magnum opus, right? It was almost the perfect Thor movie. And I personally loved Love and Thunder because I have loved the Thor character's journey and the struggle with depression and the struggle with responsibility and the arrogance and the everything. And now we've reached a point where the character is able to live life without any expectations and do what he thinks is right, which I think is going to lead us to the big badass Thor that we see, like King Thor in the comics. The older, wiser one.
We'll see. I don't know what they're going to do.
Because Hemsworth has said he'll play the character as long as it's well written and he likes what's coming.
Yeah.
And we have no idea. I mean, Deadpool's going to break everything. Everything. I'm so sick.
Yeah. I mean, the talks about what that's going to be. There's we've got the Wolverine stuff that's come out, and
we've seen shots of them fighting underneath a 20th Century Fox logo thing.
Yeah, so they're in some sort of nether realm or in between.
Some people think that they're fighting where Loki got sent.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
And that's where the Morpheus character is going to come in to have.
Well, so I was someone I was listening to was talking about that. They were saying that they wondered if they fell out of that logo essentially as it broke and crumbled, and they're going to fight and whatever, and then like go over the hill to like the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
and then
jump in to the videos that are playing as the intro.
I could see
that's how they're gonna
Wolverine going, "What the hell is happening?" and Deadpool being like, "Hold my hand, Logan," and jump in, and Logan's like, "What the hell?" but
what
Deadpool understands he's in a movie,
Here's what I'm hoping would happen in that. One of two things. Either, because if they bring Hugh Jackman over to the MCU, he already said he was done and didn't want to do it anymore. He was finished.
Yeah, but he also said that he said one of the reasons he's come back is he was burnt out and he wanted that story finished. And as long as they don't screw with that story, he's cool.
So what I'm hoping happens is that Deadpool goes through the thing, he brings Logan with him, and when they land on the other side, it's the new Wolverine actor.
Oh, that would be interesting.
And then he changes when he comes through, and he's like, "Who are you?" And then you have, here's the
okay. So this is what would be awesome. This was
I want Kevin to show up and explain it to Deadpool. He's like, "I don't understand what's going on," and Kevin shows
through.
up.
This is perfect. They jump through. It turns into the new actor, and Deadpool looks over him and goes, "Where did Hugh go?"
Yeah,
just straight out. Fully aware of what's going on, and
he's referenced Hugh Jackman enough times that it's. But I have
but that
a
would
feeling.
Be, I don't know. There's so many people who they've said may be coming back for this potentially.
I mean, the fact that they might the rumor that Chris Evans is going to come back as the Human Torch.
Yeah,
like, come on,
that would be awesome.
Bring back Jessica Alba as Miss Fantastic, and Ian Grufford as Mr. Fantastic,
and what's his name is Ben Grimm. Yeah,
the guy from The Shield.
Yeah, he was a great Ben Grimm.
Think of his name.
He was picked by Stan Lee as the perfect Ben Grimm.
He was great.
He was hand selected by Stan Lee.
What would be
I love
amazing.
that. I love the original Fantastic Four movie. I know the second one gets a lot of grief, and it wasn't great, but I love the first one.
Great. The first one wasn't great. Looking back on it, it's not the best movie ever. But when it came out,
it was
as
good.
A superhero movie that we didn't really have that many at that point. It was great.
It was awesome.
What was that before or after Spider-Man?
After Spider-Man, around the time the first Ghost Rider came out.
All right.
And I remember loving the first Ghost Rider, even though it wasn't great. No.
I need a.
But I'm a huge Ghost Rider fan.
All right, so I'm gonna have to get.
But
two
we have
separate
movie
lists
fatigue
here.
now. We have There's so much superhero, and I never thought I'd say that because I feel like this is a new golden age of superheroes in cinema and TV, and it really has been. But the shows are starting to get canceled. They're starting to not come back out. And, I mean, there's even some great ones you haven't gotten around to watching yet. Stargirl was awesome. And it's only 3 seasons.
Fantastic Four is deep in, man. So the first, this is Marvel. The first DC was like Batman back in the 60s. And the Superman in the 70s, Superman 2, Swamp Thing in 82,
I remember
Superman 3,
Swamp Thing.
Supergirl, Return of the Swamp Thing, and then Batman in the 90s. But
Yeah.
if you go over to Marvel, the first one is Howard the Duck back in 86.
Such a wonderfully horrible movie.
But then it was Blade.
No, there was a Punisher in there.
Oh, there is. Why is that
Dolph
on
Lundgren?
this list? Yeah,
because
not
Marvel
on the list.
didn't own it at the time. Somebody else did. There was the Dolph Lundgren Punisher, and then there was the Thomas Jane Punisher.
89. Now, Thomas Jane's late on this list here. 89 was the Dolph Lundgren. So it was right.
Okay.
It was a couple years after Howard the Duck. Then we got Dolph Lundgren as
there was
Punisher.
A really, really bad. Who was the Baywatch and the Knight Rider guy?
That was
played
a
Nick
TV
Fury.
movie.
It was a
Nick
TV
Fury
movie
with David Hasselhoff.
Did Nick Fury. And did an awesome job as that Nick Fury. I mean, it wasn't a bad movie for being a sci-fi channel movie.
That was David Hasselhoff playing Sergeant Nick Fury from like the old
school Fury.
Became apparently they refer to him as Nick Jr. the new sort of Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury, because that's the same they're doing it in the comics too.
They
actually
based
I think it was
the
when
ultimate version of
Nick Fury on
Samuel L.
Jackson before the movies came out.
Yeah, because he was a comic book nerd. And then they were like,
well, that's who we're going to cast.
Yeah.
So then it goes Blade in 98, X-Men in 2000, and then in 2022 it was Blade 2 and Spider-Man, then Daredevil, then X-Men 2, then the Hulk. Mm-hmm. That's the one with
the Ang Lee one.
Ang Lee one, which I really liked.
I didn't like that movie.
The villain fight with at the end, but I really liked the way it was edited. And cut
I didn't
together,
like the CGI. And there was a lot about that movie that I watched it, but I only watched it once.
And then the Punisher, which is the
Thomas Jane one,
in 2004, Thomas Jane, Spider-Man 2, Blade Trinity, Elektra, then Fantastic Four.
Was Daredevil in there? I don't remember you.
Daredevil was way before X-Men 2.
Okay.
So Blade 2, Spider-Man, Daredevil. Daredevil was 2003. I liked Daredevil.
I did too.
I really enjoyed Daredevil. If you're gonna go watch Daredevil, you got to watch the director's cut of Daredevil.
Yeah, it's much better.
Way better. Same for the Thomas Jane Punisher. The director's cut of the Thomas is way better. Both of those. It's one scene in each one. In the Punisher movie, it's when he goes and makes his friend come to account for you find out in that one that he's the one who gave him over and got his family killed. Yeah. Which they cut out of which is fun, but that scene's better. And the one that really got me in Daredevil is there's a scene in the movie where it's him and Elektra up on the rooftop and they're about to kiss and he hears someone getting mugged. And in the theatrical version, he keeps kissing her and they go hook up. And in the director's cut, he's like, peace, I got shit to do, and leaves. And I was like, that's Daredevil.
That's Daredevil.
Just like Batman. He's not going to sit there and kiss the girl. He's going to leave and take care of business. And so that's both very good.
And to be honest, there's a very different tone to the Disney Marvel shows from the Netflix ones. And I know there's some very fair critiques to some of the Netflix shows, but they also, I think, are some of the best that we've gotten. Daredevil Season 1 and Daredevil Season 2 on Netflix are exceptional.
Jessica Jones Season 1.
Jessica Jones Season 1 has the most horrific, terrifying, sociopathic villain I've ever seen on a Marvel screen.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's
David Tennant doing an amazing job. And it is so dark. Like, he's not, wahaha, I'm going to rule the world villain. But he is so, the crimes he commits are so twisted and dark and personal.
Yeah.
And he's relatable, which is terrifying because he just wants to know if someone actually gives a damn about him.
Yeah.
And you have to watch the show. I'm not going to ruin it, but you have to watch the show to understand it.
It's very good. It's very dark.
And then the first half of Iron Fist Season 1 is kind of like not good, but by the end of the season, it was good. And Iron Fist Season 2 is exceptional. And the Defenders was great. I loved it. I mean, and then Daredevil Season 3 is great. And
your mic is being weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been plugged in too long.
Yeah, fix it real quick. But the other thing I want to jump on here is if you sort of look through this, the third one in here, Howard the Duck, Blade. I mean, we got Punisher in there, but like of the big ones, is X-Men, and then X-Men was just that was sort of the first one that was sort of the big.
It was groundbreaking
because X-Men and X-Men 2, and then they did X-Men Last Stand, and then there was X-Men Origins Wolverine, and then they rebooted with First Class, which was freaking spectacular.
Yeah.
And then what was the next
Days
one?
of Future Past.
And then is that right? I'm looking. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, then it was the Wolverine.
It was the Wolverine.
Then Days of Future Past, which was just a masterpiece of a film.
Yes.
I would have loved if they had done the other plot line
When
of
was
going
Apocalypse?
to get Rogue.
When was Apocalypse?
And then I think that was after. Because then it was then it was X-Men Apocalypse in 2016.
And then it was Dark Phoenix, which wasn't great.
Dark Phoenix, which I never watched.
Wasn't bad. I'm glad I watched it, but
I may have to go back and watch it.
I didn't like the way they handled Mystique.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't like it and the reason it was handled is that actress was done. She was just done.
Yeah, she didn't want to be. Yeah.
And it's Mystique, so she could have just shapeshifted into anybody else. I mean, just bring back Rebecca Romaine because they did that in one of the other ones, and he's like, no, the real Raven. Yeah. Anyway, and there's other, and you know what? They've screwed up the Dark Phoenix saga pretty much every time since they wrote it. Like the original one they did in the comics was awesome, and what was it? The 90s animated series?
The 90s animated series that was like 10 episodes long, and they actually, and it was condensed. But if I remember correctly,
and they cut out a lot of the Madeline Pryor stuff. And see, that's the thing. They have to, though.
I want to say that I'm going to double check this, but I think Chris Claremont actually helped them
make that
write
work
it for the cartoon. I could be wrong about that, though.
And you know what? I haven't seen that since its original run. I know it's on Disney. I need to go back and watch it. But I've kind of been trying to watch stuff as my 8-year-old is interested in it.
There's new episodes coming.
I know. That's why I need to rewatch it because I am so stupid.
X-Men 90,
which is even more exciting because the one guy made the argument that Wolverine is the one we're getting in Deadpool.
Could you imagine if they rebooted it for one more season and ended it with Deadpool pulling Wolverine out and that being the start to the... Could you fucking imagine?
Oh my God, that would be epic.
Like, set it up and have Deadpool show up and then have it end and go just to be continued in Deadpool 3. Deadpool fucks up everything.
No. Or it just ends with the last one being, and Wolverine will return in Deadpool 3.
Well, but
because they've done that. They've done that in the Marvel. I mean, that's a Marvel tradition now. Thor will return in Ragnarok.
Thor will return. Yeah.
And they just did it again at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy. Because it says, Star-Lord will return. And it doesn't give a when.
Yeah.
But that was awesome.
The theory is they're going to do a Star-Lord standalone.
Well,
called like...
You haven't finished it, so I don't want to spoil it for you.
Don't.
But Star-Lord ends the movie in a very interesting place. So there's a lot of ways they could go with it. It's just there's a lot of things they could do with it.
But going back to X-Men, like I'm excited for the cartoon to come back. What I'm hoping this is them putting their toe back into Marvel animation, because I know they're doing the What If. But like, I would love to see them go back and do that, and then
there were some really good ones that got canceled after like 2 seasons or 3 seasons. The Avengers one they were doing was really, really, really good, and I think it ran like 2 seasons or 3 seasons.
Yeah, they've done a couple of Avengers.
Got rebooted again, and that Avengers was really good, and I think it went like 5 seasons. There was a Hulk show where it was like Team Hulk, and that was really good. But again, these all make it 1 or 2 seasons and then they die for whatever reason. DC, again, these haven't been bad shows, but DC has just been beating the hell out of Marvel in the animated realm. Like, DC's had very few bad animated films or series since they did all of that.
Okay, so listen to this. Is insane. So I pulled up animated Marvel. There was a Fantastic Four in 1967, in 1978, in 1994, and in 2006.
Wow.
And then there's more. But then if in the 60s,
what? I used to have a VHS copy of the X-Men pilot that never went anywhere. Animated pilot.
Do you remember...
What was that called?
What was that movie? There was a Marvel made-for-TV movie that was like... It was an X-Men related movie. And now I'm gonna find this. I'm gonna have to go find a copy of this now.
Pride of the X-Men. Pride of the X-Men.
Oh, I've heard of this.
The full one is on YouTube right now. You can go find it. It wasn't even a DVD. I had the VHS of it. It was awesome. But it was a failed pilot.
Generation X.
I watched that on Fox when it came out live. It was so bad. It was so
taped
awesome.
It, but it was so good.
It was so cheesy.
Somebody famous was in that.
A lot of famous people were. What was it? Generation X?
Oh, yeah. Max Frewer was in it. Matt Frewer was in it. Max Headroom. But the woman playing Emma Frost was famous too, I want to say. Christian Slater was no, that's 2016. That's not right.
Generation X film. Click.
TV movie. Here we go. Yeah, the woman who played Emma Frost was from something else. What was she from?
She was on another show.
She was on General Hospital. 1,500 episodes of General Hospital. She was on All My Children.
Okay, there we go.
But yeah. Generation X.
Emma Frost.
You would recognize
the guy who played Banshee was pretty famous too. Emma Frost, Fiona Hughes. Yeah.
But yeah, she was a soap actress. But she was just a face I recognized. But yeah, I mean, that was a great show. And see, this is what I like this. This was somebody had an idea to do a thing with an X-Men property and did it. And we don't do that anymore. Remember when they did Legion?
It's about the same time that Fox did the Doctor Who movie. Yes, for the Doctor that we never got a fair run with. And
he was so good.
The movie was shit. Okay? It just was, because it wasn't Doctor Who. But the actor was exceptional. And I love that in the lead up for
though.
I love, well, you will get to that. I love that in the lead up to the 50th anniversary, they gave him his regeneration scene and they released it for free online in a short.
Yeah.
And watching that 10-minute short, I went, it's a time show. Cast him and just give him 2 seasons.
Yeah,
go back and tell a retro story while he's still young enough to do it. But you're right. The radio dramas. He got to tell his show.
Yeah, they've let him do all the radio, all that they've written.
He is
books and stories.
He is the 8th Doctor, and they've kept him for all the audio. Which
is absolutely the right thing to do.
And there was a time when people were doing fan films, in the early aughts, which there is one fan-made trailer, and I've read the script, and you've read the script, and somewhere on your wall you have the poster for it. Yeah,
that one right there.
That may be the single best Batman fan film ever made. And the
trailer's out there on YouTube.
Go watch the trailer. The script is amazing. Download it, read it. The story is brilliant.
I'm going to tell, if you don't want to know what it is,
stop
and
right
read
now.
it. Stop now.
3,
find it. Skip over.
2, 1. Okay.
The premise of the story is it's hilarious. It takes place in sort of the Adam West Batman universe.
Yeah,
because Commissioner Gordon is there, and the assistant, his sort of deputy guy, the bumbly dude.
And the Batgirl in purple is there.
And Batgirl and Superman shows up. And so the story is Batman dies. Dick Grayson has to come out of retirement. He's married to Barbara, and I think
they have a kid.
All of it. I think they have a kid. And so
yeah, they do. They have a kid.
And the Joker is involved, and so there's throughout the whole thing, you're trying to figure out what's going on. It's a big mystery story.
Who killed Batman?
who killed Batman, and it turns out at the end of the movie that Gordon killed Batman because Batman stepped in front of the bullet to keep Gordon from killing the Joker.
After the Joker had shot Batgirl.
Shot Barbara.
Which was Barbara
Gordon. So it's
Gordon.
this great, amazing story, and I remember finishing reading the script and going, no one is ever going to make this.
And while this is happening, we almost have like the DC Civil War, right? Because some people
Green Lantern shows up and Superman shows up.
Superman shows up to fight, and Green Lantern goes, and they go toe to toe, and Wonder Woman's there fighting somebody else. Because there's this split over the fallout of what if Batman died, right? Because that in itself is an interesting concept. What if Batman died and we don't know who killed him, right? And that's why Dick comes out of retirement and they tell him to leave it alone. And
it's so well. And I think I want to say Superman was somehow like not complicit, but
like, he knew.
He knew. Yeah, it was very good.
It was very good. It's a very good script.
But sort of where I'm gonna sidebar on this now. This is sort of where I get like I understand copyright.
Yeah.
And I understand you need to protect your property, but I think it's time to let everybody have a crack at Batman. And I want, you know what I mean? Like, I
make
don't
them
know how.
Just make it an Elseworlds, because that's what I consider the Batman movie that just came out, which was pretty good. I don't consider it real Batman. The Batman, the last one that just came out.
Liked it.
I did too, but I don't see it fitting. They're not going to
be
use
the new
him
Batman though. They're going to keep him, I think.
No, James Gunn's like, we're done with all that shit.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's like, no. James Gunn has said the only one who's sticking around is the Blue Beetle.
Is the Blue Beetle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he didn't really count. Yeah.
Because they said we can still use him. It's still fresh enough.
And that's not tied
and
to
it's an origin story. So,
yeah.
And to be fair, there were issues between the director and the actor on the Batman. So I can see them being like, let's just reboot.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
And I was not excited about Superman Legacy. I wasn't. I was actually kind of annoyed until they just announced the casting this past week. You want to run it down?
Hot Girl.
Who's playing him?
I don't. It does. People I don't know.
Yeah, but there's one.
I know. Hot Girl, and then Mr. Terrific.
Mr. Terrific.
Played by...
I don't know.
I know him. He's been on The Walking Dead and a couple other things.
Okay, so but we've got Hot Girl, Mr. Terrific. We've got
who else?
Mesmero. No, not Mesmero.
Mephisto.
Metamorpho. And
who's
then
somebody else I recognize.
And then
they just cast Nathan Fillion to play Guy Gardner.
Yes. Nathan Fillion gets to play an asshole Green Lantern.
I mean, there's no one better. There's
Talk
no
about
one better.
a dream casting, you know.
Who else would he be better at playing than Guy Gardner?
Well, and he's already played Green Lantern too, because he was the voice of Green Lantern through almost all of that.
I forgot.
So he's already got the attitude and he's already got all that stuff. And to be fair, that actor is really good and has been lobbying for any superhero role he could get.
Well, and
all.
James
Gunn
gave him the role.
Yeah, he cast him in Guardians 1. He was in Guardians 2 and his scene got cut.
He was in 3.
And he finally got a more fleshed out role in 3.
And then he was also the take apart guy in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, TDK,
I forget what it stood for.
Something kid, but the detachable kid or something like that.
The detachable kid, that's what it was. But I'm excited to see. Well, and we don't know what's coming with the Superman movie.
No, they could all be bit parts. I mean, they could be all very cameo-esque. And I would be
totally. And here's the thing. If you look at who he's casting, I mean, he cast Nathan as Guy because I'm sure he called him and went, "Hey, if you could have anybody, who do you want? Well, I'd like this one, and this one. All right, well, I can't give you the first two, but I can give you Guy Gardner. Like, you know, I'm sure there was some sort of
I'll
write in whoever you want.
It was like, oh, hey, I've already played the Green Lantern. Let me keep playing him. All right, well, we can't use this one, but we can use the other one, right? Yeah.
And I'm hoping that James is so very clearly a DC Comics fan.
Yeah.
Like, he pulled some of the cuts he pulled on the characters that he pulled out for Suicide Squad. You're like,
and
really?
You haven't watched Peacemaker yet, and it's awesome.
No,
too.
I haven't. And it's
got
also,
a
lot of those too.
And I think now that I know more about how dedicated to the craft Henry Cavill is, and how important he considers intellectual property and the source material, why James Gunn decided to let him go as Superman.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
James Gunn wants to tell his story the way he wants to tell it, regardless of what came before.
Right.
And
I'm fine
Cavill,
with that.
Yeah, I am too. But Henry Cavill has walked away from The Witcher because they're not sticking to the story, and that was what he wanted.
And I think Superman is probably a little different. And again, I understand why he stepped away, because Superman's way more convoluted.
Yes.
But The Witcher is one of those things where it's like, these are the books. And they're like, yeah, we don't want to tell that story anymore. But that was what I wanted to do.
That's what I signed on for.
Yeah.
And I'm a massive fanboy for it. And you knew that coming in. And that's the only reason I signed the contract.
Right.
And what I love out of this is the Games Workshop guys went, hey, Amazon, he's a 40K fanboy. Look at all the stuff we have. You want to give him free reign? And I know you're not a 40K fan, right? You casually know what it is compared to me, right?
Yes.
And I am not a 40K fanboy like some of these people are, but it is such a massive and deep, pervasive realm with so much source material and so much room to play. And he is like the ultimate 40K fan nerd. Yeah. Right? And,
I mean, it looks like Amazon is...
And then they did the Critical Role thing.
Exactly. That's what I was going to get at. Is Amazon is deploying the plan of, like, let's get a thing and then make a bunch of stuff. Like again,
you know what's interesting about this?
Hang on. Hang on.
Okay.
So, Disney said, let's get the Marvel universe, and then we can make a whole bunch of stuff. And so Amazon is going, all right, well, let's get the 40K universe, and we can make a bunch of stuff. And then they did the Critical Role cartoon. They saw how big it was. They ramped up for the season 2, and then went, you know what? These are a bunch of people who have a bunch of ideas. Here, make whatever you want.
They made a 10-year deal, like a 10-year deal of creatives. And here's the other fascinating thing, because I was like, oh, shit, the writer's strike is going to stop it. And then I read an article that said Amazon is not using SAG and the Writers Guild. They are using other unions that don't tie into that aren't having the same issue, that are already set up for streaming. So the production of The Mighty Nine, season 3 of Vox Machina, should, unless there's a solidarity strike, should not be affected by the production by these other production strikes.
I would think, just from a standpoint of the groups that are already set up for streaming and shouldn't strike.
No,
specifically because we've already adopted all the things that they're asking for, so we're going to keep going. And
I could be wrong. I could be wrong on some of it, but also these people have to pay their bills, and it's different when you're dealing with Warner Brothers or somebody like that. But let's just take Critical Role. Critical Role is a up and coming media company, but it is still in that world very much a tiny, tiny small business compared to these big production companies. And they have a 10-year contract. They can't afford to waste any of that time.
Right.
If we're ever going to get Critical Role land, we can't afford a loss of any profit. I need to go to oh God, what is the name of that horrible restaurant that they made Matt come up with, like Taste of Taldore.
The Taste of Taldore.
Taldore. I need to go eat at Taste of Taldore. I need that to happen in my life at some point.
Well, and this gets back to what we were talking about in the last one of the changing landscape of media, which is now like this show that started as a small streaming thing got bigger and bigger and bigger until they went, that they said, "Hey, we have this great idea," and they took it around to all the people, and no one was interested. And they went, well, let's see if we can do this ourselves. And they deployed Kickstarter, which is a new thing you can do. And they went, oh, wow, a lot of people really like us.
The reactions to specifically the Critical Role, Vox Machina, Kickstarter are some of the most humbling and appreciative things I think I've ever seen on the internet. Because they had their goal was $750,000 over, what was it, 45 days that it ran?
I think it was less than that.
No, I think like that was the ultimate goal. Was like if we can make $750,000, we can give you an hour-long movie or something like that.
I thought it was even less than that.
Maybe
I thought it was like $100,000.
Whatever it was.
But I'm gonna look. But they got blown away
at the end of 24 hours.
It was less than 24 hours. They launched the Kickstarter on Monday morning, and by Monday evening, when they were doing a live stream
to talk about the Kickstarter,
it had already been funded and had already hit something like $3 million or something. Yeah,
and they started with just like. They're like,
yeah, it just they were speechless,
literally speechless, and it's amazing.
Yeah, the first stretch goal was $1 million. I was trying to see if I could find the original goal.
I'm pretty sure it was 750. I'm pretty sure I remember that.
That's probably right.
And that was what they thought was an unattainable goal for them.
They were, and then 88,000. I love it. It was 88,887 backers raised.
They were
$11.3 million.
Yeah, they were one short.
And so, but think about that: 88,000 people, almost 89,000 people, got together and said, "We want this thing."
Yeah, we want a high-quality season of this show. We'll pay for it.
I wish there was a way to do this with other stuff. So, like,
my God, I wish there was a way to Kickstarter to pay back my divorce costs.
Well, no, I mean, like I'll give you an example of a show from when I was a kid, Briscoe County Jr. with.
God, I love that Bruce.
The best show
Bruce
ever.
Campbell's done.
Imagine at the end of that series, and Fox said we're going to cancel it. If that series could have gone to Kickstarter and said, like, we could do that now.
Firefly.
I've heard there's rumors, there's inklings.
Well, but that's another one that would have been great to have been saved by the fan base.
And I don't think that show could have been saved. That show became what it was on DVD.
Yeah, but another one that if Kickstarter had existed would never have got canceled. And I don't think you've ever watched this, but Farscape. Farscape was
like
huge.
7 seasons, didn't it?
No. It went 4 seasons.
4, okay.
Ended with the 2 main cast people getting shot, cutting to black, to be continued. Because they had been verbally told they were getting re-upped, and then Sci-Fi dropped the funding, and the Aussie people couldn't fund it through, and then it went away.
And it never came back?
Well, we got lucky. There was such an uproar, and it was like a 4 or 5 year writing campaign that we got a 2-part miniseries, like 3-hour made-for-TV movie that condensed the 5th season and tied the story up. So we got the story finished.
Well, I remember.
Thank goodness, because it was.
Do you remember the show Jericho?
I never watched it, but I remember Theo from Cosby Show was in it.
Okay,
the black actor who played Theo. I can't remember his name.
When that got canceled, season 1 got canceled. Something had happened in the end of the show.
Because it wasn't like, Showtime.
Come and get. No, it was on like ABC or.
I thought it was a Showtime or an HBO show.
It was a network. It was a network show. No.
Then I'm thinking of something different.
Maybe it's a different show. This is a post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Okay,
I could have sworn it was HBO or Showtime or something.
Maybe I don't know, but maybe it was, and I'm remembering wrong. But what I do remember is that when it got canceled, like the last episode, someone was like, "Come and get him," and he was like, "Nuts," like we're not gonna. And so what the campaign was, they started mailing peanuts. Bags and bags of peanuts to the production company until they were like, fine.
It was on CBS.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah. So, but they made them cave, and they made a second season, and then apparently it wasn't any good, and it didn't go on. But
yeah, season 2 only ran 7 episodes. So.
Yeah, I think that was all that they could get with their peanuts.
Another one was Space Above and Beyond, which was way ahead of its time. Another one and done Fox show. Family Guy. You remember when Family Guy got canceled?
Which time?
The first time, and then it came back.
It got canceled twice, didn't it?
Yeah, but the first time it came back, there's an opening bit, and it's amazing. It's like, we got canceled. What? Well, maybe they'll renew us. Oh, that won't happen unless, and then they list off all the shows that Fox had canceled.
I remember,
in the opening bit, and
maybe it only got canceled once.
Yeah,
in 2003.
Another interesting one, Last Man Standing. I loved Last Man Standing. I don't know if you ever watched it, the sitcom.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Got canceled, and then came back, and then moved to another station, I think, and.
That happened. Like Lucifer got finished up on Netflix, and
Lucifer's so
good. Got finished on Netflix.
So good.
And those are some of the, again, the same thing of like picking up. I regret that I'll never get the last 3 episodes to the Starship Troopers cartoon,
which again was so good.
If you can find it on DVD, it's absolutely worth checking out. It's like, I want to say it's like, it's a season. It's like 20, 30 episodes, but it has got to be.
Oh God, what was
it's early 3D animation, cartoon animation, like from like reboot time frame. But I think it was a little bit later than that. It was really good. It was true to the book as far as land troops and mech troops But it was just like a group of people, and it was the squad, and they were fighting through, and it was like
Squad.
Each DVD is a different planet. Exo Squad.
Exo Squad never got a season 2, and it was great.
The thing that got me about the Starship Troopers one is sort of very similar to what Farscape was, where it was like, all right, and we're off to the last planet, and then you didn't get the last bit. It was like 3 more episodes.
I'm sorry, Exo Squad was 2 seasons, and it was setting up the 3rd one when it ended.
Yeah,
great story.
I remember I used to listen to commentaries on all the DVDs because I was bored, and they had full commentaries for the Starship Troopers, and at the end it was sort of like, we have the scripts and the assets. If anybody wants to get together, $200,000, we can make it. I always remember being like, man, if I win the lottery, I'm going to call somebody.
Another one that we didn't get enough of, Gargoyles.
I heard there were rumors about that.
There's
coming
rumblings.
Back too.
I love the Evil Will Riker. I loved the Evil Will Riker, the Deanna
Talking
Troi,
about bringing things back, let me take a sidebar since you brought up Gargoyles. They rebooted DuckTales.
Woo.
And it's 3 seasons.
I haven't watched it.
It's spectacular.
I haven't watched it because my kids didn't get into it. Now, I do have to say, I lived on the afternoon Disney. They called it the Disney Power Hour, even though it was 2 hours.
No, it was the Disney afternoon.
The Disney afternoon. because
they had a little theme song.
We had
Gummy Bears,
DuckTales.
Tailspin.
Well, sometimes Gummy Bears wasn't always tied to it, but Gummy Bears was also great.
It absolutely is. Just so that
there's
in the song and the thing, like I grew up. This was when I was a little kid. It's Gummy Bears, it's DuckTales, it's Tailspin, and it's Rescue Rangers. Those are the four.
I remember Rescue Rangers, DuckTales. What was the last one you said?
Rescue Rangers.
Rescue Rangers, DuckTales, Tailspin, and Darkwing Duck.
Oh, and Darkwing Duck. Sorry, I forgot about that.
The Gummy Bears aired separately on a different time on a different station. Now, they may have also come back and done all that together as well, but Gummy Bears is older than the Disney Power Afternoon or Disney Afternoon.
I'm looking this up now because I think you're wrong on this. The Disney Afternoon. Yeah, because Gargoyles is in there too. Because it changed. It changed and expanded. History of the lineup. It started with Gummy Bears.
Okay. But Gummy Bears originally...
The first season was... It started with Gummy Bears, DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale, Tailspin. Then it went DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale, Tailspin, Darkwing.
This is why I'm remembering it differently than you. Because Gummy Bears started on NBC and ran for 4 seasons. Then jumped to ABC for season 5, then became syndicated and part of the Disney Afternoon for season 6. So when I was watching Gummy Bears, was before your parents were letting you watch cartoons. That is where that 5-year difference came in. Because you got all of it in syndication. I watched Gummy Bears as it dropped.
Yeah. So then it was Goof Troop, and then they added like Bonkers and other stuff, and Aladdin, which was good.
And the sad thing about Goof Troop, and that they never really touched on, is because it hits me now, is Goofy's a single dad.
Yeah.
And the implication is he's widowed, right?
Yes. So where I was going with this, though, is that it's fine. They rebooted DuckTales.
Yeah.
David Tennant is Scrooge McDuck, which is spectacular. So good with his Scottish brogue and everything. He's so good. They got 3 good actors to play the kids. They've got they blew it out, man. They go to the moon and they find Della. They hit they go to the moon and it plays the moon music from the NES game.
Which I had and I loved the DuckTales NES game.
This DuckTales was written by people who grew up watching the Disney event. So it's written for the kids. My kids love it. Every single episode. Did you ever watch the South Park episode with Remember Berries?
No. I had quit. The
Remember Berries was like it was like remember Chewbacca, and it was about everything being remade.
No, I never saw that.
About,
I had.
It's all about invoking.
Remember the stuff.
That whole series is just because they make references to Gummy Bears, to DuckTales. The characters from Tailspin show up. Darkwing Duck shows up. The Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers show up at some point.
Which it took me years before I realized that Chip 'n Dale from the Rescue Rangers are dressed as Magnum P.I. in Indiana Jones.
Yes.
I know. I just never caught it.
Yes.
I should have. Another one that I'm like, that was a staple of mine growing up, and I had no idea it was this old, is the Smurfs.
Oh, Smurfs are way old.
Yeah, the original run of the Smurfs was from 61 to 67.
But I
also
60s.
Grew up with the Hanna-Barbera stuff, like Thundar and all that stuff, because it was Saturday morning cartoons. And it was just all those 60s and 70s reruns of the Scooby stuff and the Hanna-Barbera.
I didn't watch. I saw a little bit
Your parents didn't
like
let you watch TV.
Flintstones and stuff.
Yeah,
I saw some of that. We had all of the Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry's on Laserdisc, so I watched a lot of those.
And we don't have Saturday morning cartoons anymore.
Do you remember Sunday mornings, Davy and Goliath
on PBS?
the clay. I don't remember. It was the claymation dog and the claymation boy.
No,
and it was like a Christian story.
Yeah,
you don't know Davy and Goliath?
No, but I can remember.
Yeah, Davy and Goliath, man. Those
the
were
Story
wild.
Keepers. Do you remember the?
Yes.
No, the story. No, that's not what I'm thinking of. There was a Christian cartoon on PBS when I was very young, where it would open with like a book, and then things would come out.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But I can't remember the name of it to save my life. And the internet is not helping right now. But
there were a lot of those.
So I found these, and I want to know if you watched these growing up, the Saturday morning cartoons. This is a top 20 list, and we'll start over. Tom and Jerry.
Yes.
All the time. The Bugs Bunny Show, which is a Looney Tunes.
Yes, the Bugs Bunny Show I think is a specific one, but yeah, I watched tons of those.
Yeah, it ran on CBS from 1968 to 2000.
Jeez.
So, talk about a run. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original
all
one.
The time.
Yeah,
I had all the action figures. I had all that stuff.
Voltron, Defender of the Universe.
No, I did not watch Voltron.
I did. Do Inspector Gadget.
Oh yeah, totally. I still watch Inspector Gadget and the new ones on
which
Netflix.
my youngest just watched the new ones on Netflix.
They're
with
good.
his nephew or whatever is the
Talking
villain.
about new stuff, I'll find it for you. There was a 3-season run of Scooby-Doo that's spectacularly good.
Which I do have to say, as much as I am a fan of the original Voltron, it's a product of its time and it's very episodic. The Voltron that Netflix did is exceptional because they updated it and they made it a cohesive story. It is really the animation's awesome, the story's awesome. It's just amazing. I love Voltron. Anyway, DuckTales, of course, you've already said you watched that. Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
This one I've never watched. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh yeah, I watched Sonic.
I've never watched Sonic.
There's I want to say there's more than one.
This is version. Specifically the 93 to 94. I think Netflix has one.
Does he have does it have a picture?
Yeah, it does.
Does he have a guitar?
No, he's got kind of like a mohawky thing going back.
That's the one I'm
thinking
of.
And there's two girls, and one of them's got a curl thing. Okay.
Yep.
This one was a staple. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
I actually didn't watch He-Man.
I did. I had all the toys. I've still got all the stuff.
In fact, I don't think it was on.
In fact, my mom, about 2 years ago, found somebody at a garage sale that was giving away the original Castle Grayskull, the original Snake Mountain, and a giant tub-o box of He-Man action figures. And my, at the time, 6-year-old was with him, and he was like, "Oh, this is awesome." And he was like, "You can just have them." And then my brother came in and went, "I want them," and took them. And then I was so pissed. And then now that he's gotten married, his wife is making him get rid of all his shit. And I was like, he's like, "I'm going to sell these." I was like, "The fuck you are. They're mine. They're coming to my house." He's like, "Do you want them?" I'm like,
"Yeah.
Yes."
Castle Grayskull, man. Heck yeah.
Well, and all the little action figures. Why the hell not? I'm going to mount them on the wall in my nerd room. But He-Man. And while I understand why people didn't like it, the Netflix He-Man, once they released the whole thing, was good.
Yeah.
I was one of the people that was pissed at the end of the first part of it. They should have just released it all at once, and it wouldn't have pissed everybody off.
All right, what's next?
Thundercats.
Okay, before actually, no, I didn't watch Thundercats.
Dude, He-Man and Thundercats.
It was before my time,
and I've watched all the reboots, and they're all great. They're just awesome, you know. But it ran from 85 to 89.
So 89, I was only 6.
But that's your demographic. I mean,
Ninja Turtles, man.
The Smurfs. Ninja Turtles didn't come out till much later. Because Ninja Turtles was 87 to 96.
So that's earlier.
So 85 to 89, they were touching, but not, the Smurfs, yes. I forgot about this one. I didn't really watch this one until it came on in college on reruns. The Animaniacs.
Oh, I loved Animaniacs.
Yeah, I didn't watch it
and
until it was
Tiny
on
Toons.
Cartoon Networks. Pinky
Tiny
and the
Toons.
Brain.
So that Pinky and the Brain is a offshoot of Animaniacs. So they did Animaniacs for 1 or 2 seasons, and as they were ending Animaniacs, they were like, now we're going to do a whole separate Pinky and the Brain show.
Yeah. Then there's the X-Men animated series that we were talking about that ran from 92 to 97. This one, classic, The Jetsons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't, that's one of those ones that, I've seen lots of Jetsons. I know we at one point I bought season 1
because it was always
DVD.
Flintstone and the Jetsons back to back, when they'd come on.
Yeah, but I don't remember how many of those I watched. I mean, I know I watched a lot.
I think I've seen them all because they were on syndication for so long.
I've probably seen most of them.
Yeah. And the Jetsons actually only ran from 62 to 63. It only ran a year. But then it got renewed in 85 and ran to 87.
Well, it's interesting if you look at some of them, I don't remember which one it is, but I remember one of the seasons of DuckTales, one season is 57 episodes, and then it's 9 and then 15 and then
they did that with G.I. Joe, which I'm surprised hasn't shown up on this yet. The first season is 67 episodes or something like that. This one I've never even heard of. And it's number 5 is Recess.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's Disney.
Premiered in 97. I graduated high school in 96, which is why I've never heard of this.
Yeah. Recess was on when I was in middle school, going into high school. It was just it's a fun Disney kids show.
This blows me away because I had no idea the original run was so short. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The original one ran from 69 to 70, one season on CBS.
They made a bunch of other stuff. So since you brought it up, I'm going to tag it now because I found it. It's on Netflix and it's on HBO Max. It's called Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. It's 2 seasons, but it's one story.
Oh,
cool. It's a bunch of different little mysteries, but there is one story that's being told the whole way through, and it wraps up at the end, and you get to the end, and you're like, holy crap, that was really good.
That's awesome.
It was just for when your kid gets to Scooby-Doo, give him that one because it was great.
Yeah. This one, number 3, Tiny Toon Adventures. Tiny Toons.
Elevator go up, elevator stop, and he's slamming that dude into the. It's my mom and I watched that. And we would do that when we would get every time we got into an elevator. I pushed the button. I push it again and again and again and again, and it's just that was our thing. I love that show.
Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Yes. Ran from 90 to 92.
Earth, fire, wind, water, and then the beating
Spirit
organ in your
heart.
body.
Yeah.
Heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so stupid.
And then number 1, which I don't think I've ever watched a whole episode of, Pokemon.
Oh yeah, I was big onto Pokemon.
Pokemon
in the beginning.
For late 90s and early 2000 kids, I just never got into it. But you know what's not on here? G.I. Joe, which makes no sense to me that G.I. Joe is not in the top 20. How is that cartoon?
Because it's somebody's list. I mean, you put a list of 20 things together and a bunch of stuff is going to get left off.
Yeah, but G.I. Joe was foundational to anyone who grew up in the 80s or 90s. Another one that's not on here is Mask, which was really great. Did you ever see any of the Mask stuff? Yeah. The cars that transformed. Transformers isn't on this list. Yeah, I mean
that's a big one.
Transformers.
And then a big one for me. It's in the theaters right now. Man, I didn't watch Transformers, I watched Beast Wars.
Yeah,
and but the big one that I loved was Beast Machines. Did you ever watch Beast Machines?
I watched Beast Machines, the one where they went back to Cybertron.
They go back to Cybertron. It's the better CGI.
I didn't like it because they ruined the characters. They screwed up the characters and fucked up the ending to Beast Wars.
At the end,
God damn
was
it,
bad.
You know.
Yes, the end was bad. Oh, yeah. Bobby's World. What is
Bobby's
they left
World?
Off that Bobby's World was a Saturday morning cartoon. It was Howie Mandel's show. Howie Mandel had a cartoon.
I
called
vaguely
Bobby's
remember
World.
it, but I vaguely remember it.
They didn't include Batman the Animated Series.
No, they didn't, and they didn't include the Superman one either.
I think definitively the Batman the Animated Series has to be one of the best.
Yeah, this one was one to make you feel nostalgic. So I guess they just did, So some of these are a lot older, but they included stuff from the aughts, which anyway doesn't really matter. There's a bunch of Hanna-Barbera stuff that's not on here.
I found an IMDb. You remember the Snorks?
Yes, I do.
I remember Richie Rich.
Yes, I watched a ton of that.
Oh, Muppet Babies.
I love Muppet Babies.
Muppet Babies. I want to say that Muppet Babies is probably one of the first times that a show really got meta.
Yeah.
Like, because
I found a better one.
Okay. Better list.
50 greatest Saturday morning.
Heathcliff.
Heathcliff is awesome. Garfield and Heathcliff. And the Alley Cats.
See, Garfield was great. I love that Garfield because it had the farm show that was like the second half to their Garfield show. They would do like a Garfield, and then it was like the duck and the chicken on the farm. Oh man, those were so funny.
Yours is 65. Is that what you said you
Mine's
found?
an IMDb list of 65.
Oh, okay.
Gargoyles, Batman, Tiny Toons.
Pokemon, Hammerman,
Dino
which I've
Riders.
never heard of. I love Dino Riders. Hammerman.
Mm-mm. Alvin and the Chipmunks.
I love that. Harlem Globetrotters. I remember that one. Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
The animated.
Dennis the Menace.
I love Dennis the Menace. CBS Story Break. Star Wars Ewoks.
Okay, we're now just reading a list here. Super Mario Brothers is another one.
Yeah.
So I don't remember where we were starting with this.
The whole Nintendo, Captain Nintendo and all that.
The Captain
Littles.
in the Game Master.
The Littles, which was based on a series of children's books, which was great. Okay, some of these aren't even cartoons on this.
Yeah, knock that list off. No more lists.
We're more lists.
I mean, I think at this point we're done. Like,
yeah.
We're just kind of gone off track.
Yeah, we started on Secret Wars, right? Well, this has all been about comics, right?
Yeah, it's all been cartoons.
It's cartoons, comic books, and all this stuff. We have so much now, and so much of this is getting lost. You can't find it anywhere, and there's traditions that are being lost. Like there was a tradition in my family, and the whole reason I brought up the Saturday morning cartoon. Every Saturday morning, I knew we were going to have to do some kind of work, some kind of house cleaning, some kind of chores, some kind of something. But there was a 2-hour block with my entire family where my mom and dad would sit on the couch and me and my brother would sit down on the floor and lean back on the couch and eat cereal. And we'd watch cartoons. And my dad would kind of put up with the cartoons we liked, because we'd have the Hanna-Barbera or the Looney Tunes or that kind of stuff on.
That's very cool because that is not how I watch cartoons. Because my parents did not watch cartoons with me. So I would get up in the morning as early as I was allowed to get up. It was like probably 6:30. I would plan my morning out. I knew what channel I'd be watching and what order. I had the TV guide back in the day.
Yeah, we'd have to highlight the TV guide. Yeah,
and so I would get up and I'd have to keep the volume down low enough. So I'd sit like this far from the TV screen so that I could keep the volume, so I didn't wake anybody up. And I'd get up and watch cartoons, eat a mixing bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
And just do that in the morning, and then eventually around like 10:30 or 11 or whatever, my parents would be like, "Get out of the house," and so I'd go and do something else. But that That was it. So that's interesting. I that your parents sat and watched them with you.
Well, and a lot of it was because my dad still likes to watch the Looney Tunes, the shorts, the 3-minute ones, the 5-minute ones.
Yeah.
But my afternoons, I miss summers as a kid because Houston, we would always get those like 2-hour rainstorms or that hour rainstorm in the afternoon, which was about the time that Transformers and G.I. Joe and all that would come on. And I knew it was coming. Yeah. So during the summer, our garage was converted into like a playroom because my mom kept kids. So it was carpeted and stuff. So during the summer, all that stuff was out. And I'd come in and turn it on. And I'd just start playing G.I. Joe and Transformers while I was watching it. Because I had a bunch of the toys and stuff. And I watched my kid do it now, but he's on his iPad watching a Godzilla cartoon with his Godzillas or his playing Pokemon with his Legos that he's made Lego Pokemon out of. And you know, and I let him watch the stuff while he plays because that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
You know?
But you're right. I think we're gonna lose stuff. I mean, I think back on cartoons that I watched, random stuff. Like there was a Phantom 2099 cartoon that was really weird and kind of trippy and
Dino Riders. But like, I mean, you have to remember in the 80s and the early 90s, a lot of those ran for one season to sell you toys.
Yeah.
And there was another one. Was that the one with the magnets? That was really cool. There was another one where like they shot rope, and you could hook them up and they'd slide across. There was another one where they had like, I remember the main character drove like a motorcycle with a wheel that went all the way around it, and there were like mutant things. So many of these really great stories that ran like 1-2 seasons, 40 episodes, 25 episodes. And I had a bunch of those toys, and I watched them all.
It's interesting to see how toys have changed as the cartoons have changed.
Yeah.
Like, as they've gotten away from toy-driven cartoon, they don't sell toys like that anymore. Like, what's a good example? Phineas and Ferb is like a Disney show. Like,
and
they have toys, but they're not. It's not marketed as it's
not a 24 episode commercial to go buy our stuff.
Right. But I also sort of miss the 24 episode commercial because
they had to figure out a story structure to hang around these things to make you want to buy them and play with them.
And so they made the thing. Like, so for example, like the ones that I think of like are Ninja Turtles, where like, at one point they put together the tank that shoots the pizza, and you're like, that's so, because they have to make it so
we had
much
all the
cooler
turtles
than the toy is.
We had all the turtles, and then we had the turtle balloon, or we didn't have the turtle balloon, but they're reselling that one now as like a remote control thing. But we had the turtle wagon. And
I never got the wagon.
We had the sewer play set, and we had all that stuff.
I had the sewer, and I had the Technodrome.
I didn't
got
have
for my
the
birthday one year. That thing was huge.
Yeah.
And then I had the sewer, and I had the pizza shooter. I think I had one other thing. Yeah, but I never had the balloon. The balloon was cool. But now I bet it would actually fly. I bet they could sell one that would fly.
They do. It is.
Yeah. Oh, the blimp. I bet.
Yeah, the blimp.
There was a blimp.
But we should wrap up. So,
yes.
All right.
Yeah. So
it's fun. Cartoons, comic books, stuff.
Comic books.
We're nerds. Always will be.
All right. Bye.